It's time, oh comic book uber fans, for another throwdown and showdown on Grudge Match, the show where the best of DC and Marvel comics are thrust together to compete mano a mano to see who comes out on top. Today, two high-flying, justice-dealing city defenders are going head-to-head. It's Gotham's original Robin, the Dark Knight's first protege turned solo hero in his own right, Nightwing, going head-to-head with Marvel's Man Without Fear, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, it's Daredevil. Both these guys are street-level heroes primarily, who most generally rely on their wits and fighting skills rather than an overabundance of gadgets or high-tech weaponry in order to take down their foes. And both have very strong similarities in terms of the fighting styles they tend to utilize, and both carry similar signature weapons when fighting crime around their city. So now to take a look at them individually to gauge their similarities and differences, and starting with Nightwing, real name of Dick Grayson, was the first Robin to ever be partnered up with Batman and was first created way back in 1940, and for many, many years carried on the title of Robin, didn't actually debut as Nightwing until 1984 and took on a more solo role. Now, as Nightwing, even though he is part of the Bat family of heroes, he generally prefers to work alone, but utilizes all the skills and abilities that he learned under Batman's tutelage, the most prominent of which are his highly advanced fighting skills and acrobatic ability. He's regarded as the #1 acrobat in the entire DC universe when it comes to non-powered characters, and his fighting skills are second only to Batman and a slight few others. But his fighting skills include a wide variety of different styles. Most commonly, he falls back on his primary fighting styles of Aikido, Eskrima, Ninjutsu, and dozens more. Practically every kind of fighting style is either mastered by him or at least very well known by him, much like Batman before him. And as the #1 non-powered acrobat in the entire DC universe, his acrobatic skills even surpass what Batman or any other fighter in the DC universe is capable of. He has, of course, been training under Batman and working with Batman in the crime-fighting realms of Gotham for most of his entire life, ever since he was fairly young, and so he has acquired peak physical conditioning when it comes to all of his physical skills. His strength level, speed level, agility, dexterity, all are at peak physical human abilities. So basically, he's about as strong, as fast, as agile, as durable as a non-powered human of his size can possibly be. Now, as the solo hero of Nightwing, he uses far less in the way of gadgetry or weaponry than Batman tends to utilize, but the things that he does tend to utilize are, of course, his Nightwing suit, and it provides a fair degree of resistance to bullets, to impacts, to electricity, but less so than the Batsuit. He said when designing the Nightwing costume that he favors mobility over protection because how much he utilizes his speed and agility in combat, so it's actually less durable and provides less basic protection than the Batsuit does to Batman. In addition, Nightwing has as his most favorite weapon his Eskrima sticks, which are not only good for bludgeon weapons, but he also has them infused with a taser so they can be turned electrical. Also, he uses batarangs and grappling hooks as primary things to not only get around in terms of the grappling hooks, but also as weapons in a fight as well. Turning now to looking at Daredevil, first created in 1964, real name of Matt Murdock. Daredevil lost his vision when he was a child when a radioactive chemical got splashed into his eyes, and in addition to blinding him, it also supercharged all of his other senses. He then was taken under the tutelage of a blind warrior known as Stick, who was the head of a ancient order of fighters known as the Chaste, and Stick taught him everything he needed in order to become a hero in his own right of Daredevil. Now, Daredevil also has incredibly strong fighting skills and is a master of multiple forms of fighting. His most favored fighting styles are ninjutsu, jujitsu, eskrima, and also a heavy reliance on boxing, as his father was a boxer, and so he utilizes that to great proficiency as well, and dozens more various fighting styles. In addition to these fighting styles, Daredevil is also famed for having superhuman senses. All of his senses, aside from vision obviously, are superhumanly enhanced. Now, these are most often put on display in terms of his superhuman hearing, which he has developed into a sort of radar sense, echolocation that sort of allows him to get an idea about his surroundings without having to actually see them. But his other senses are similarly enhanced, and maybe one of his most prominently enhanced senses is his sense of touch. Now, this sense of touch being so enhanced allows him to have an actual superhuman degree of agility, balance, and reflexes, all as a result of this enhanced touch. It also allows him to dull his pain receptors so that he can sustain damage and keep going as if he doesn't even feel it. Daredevil also has a specific suit and weapon that he uses in combat. The Daredevil suit is bulletproof, it is impact resistant, and electrical proof. The Daredevil Billy Club has multi-functions to it. He can use it as a bludgeon weapon. It also has a extendable grappling hook within it. He can turn it into nunchucks. He can turn it into a fighting staff. He can use it in a variety of ways as different weapons when in combat. He's used these variety of skills to be a protector of Hell's Kitchen in New York City, as well as to take down the Kingpin, who controlled all crime in New York, as well as going on a crusade to take out the Hand, which is the most powerful ninja assassin organization in the entire Marvel Universe. So having taken a look at the skills and abilities and weaponry that these two characters are bringing to the table, it's time to decide who would win if they were to ever cross paths and go one-on-one. Winner's going to be Daredevil. When these two collide, it can definitely be seen that it's going to come down to a hand-to-hand contest, because the weaponry that they both utilize aren't going to do an overabundance of damage to each other. The batarangs and the electrified eskrima sticks that Dick Grayson is using would not be very effective against the Daredevil suit, which is electric resistant and bulletproof, so the batarangs aren't going to have much of an effect. Similarly, Nightwing's suit is impact resistant to a certain degree, so the Daredevil Billy Club would still work as a weapon, but it's not going to be as effective against Nightwing as it is for Daredevil's usual opponents. So ultimately, it's going to come down to a hand-to-hand competition between the two, and it is very difficult to say that either has a leg up over the other in terms of their fighting abilities. They both know dozens and dozens of different styles of martial arts, and both have been able to take out some of the other top-tier fighters of their respective universes. So where the real difference lies between these two is that Daredevil is the one that does come in with a degree of superhuman abilities. His superhuman touch giving him superhuman levels of agility, balance, and reflexes actually makes him a better acrobat than Nightwing happens to be. And since both of their fighting styles rely so heavily on acrobatics, that's going to give Daredevil a leg up over Nightwing. Now, Daredevil's superior senses do, of course, come with some potential drawbacks. Not only does he not have the ability to see, but his hearing is so sensitive that it can be overwhelmed in certain circumstances. Incredibly loud noises can sort of short out his radar sense and cause him pain because of his advanced hearing. The question is, would Nightwing be able to recognize this and capitalize on it during the course of a fight? Now, certainly Nightwing is a genius and has studied under Batman to be able to read opponents, but Daredevil's vulnerability to high levels of sound is not one that he telegraphs to his opponents, and without having foreknowledge of the character, which Nightwing has never encountered Daredevil before, he wouldn't know about that sensitivity to sound, nor would likely be able to capitalize on it in the course of a basic back-and-forth fight between them. So, Daredevil has a greater likelihood of being able to use his superhuman abilities to greater effect than Nightwing's peak human level abilities, and that's going to give Daredevil just a tiny edge and the win of this grudge match. So message me down below, let me know what you think of the outcome of this fight, and as always, suggestions for future grudge matches. We'll see you next time on the next edition of Grudge Match.